Keep me as the apple of the eye. Hide me under the shadow of thy wings, from the wicked that oppress me, from my deadly enemies who compass me about. Now, Psalm 17 is said to be a prayer of David. And obviously, David is praying to the Lord. And right there, he's asking God to protect him from people who want to hurt him, who want to harm him. Well, part of not being harmed by people is to not be around them. That's just a wise thing. That's really basic, smart thing to do, is not to be around people who want to hurt you. There's a familiar or famous story, at least here in the United States, about the man who's in the woods, or he's walking along the road. It's cold and bitter outside, and he sees a snake that's almost frozen. It's still alive. He can tell it's still alive, but it's so cold that it can't move. And so this man picks up the snake, according to the story, and either takes it inside or builds a fire outside, and he warms the snake up. And when the snake is able to move again, it reaches out and bites the man. And it's a poisonous snake. The man's laying there dying now. And as the snake is slithering away in the story, the man says, "I saved your life, snake. Why did you bite me? Why did you kill me?" The snake said, "It's in my nature. Ye adulterers and adulteresses, know ye not that the friendship of the world is enmity with God? You're an enemy of God. Whosoever therefore will be a friend of the world is the enemy of God." That's James 4, chapter 4. Submit yourself therefore to God. Resist the devil and he will flee from you. Now God right there through James is telling us as Christians, as believers, to get away from the devil, to get away from snakes, get away from people who are influenced by the devil. Now, sometimes as believers, or just as people who consider themselves nice and spiritual, we want to help people almost to a fault. We think that it's all about being nice and kind, when sometimes the kindest thing to do is to separate yourself from someone who's a danger or harm to you. This bothers people when I or other people talk like that, because in their mind, especially I'm talking to Christians or professing Christians, we think that it's all about helping people all the time. I just want to help people. I just want to help people. Well, some people don't want your help, and some people are going to take advantage of you. Is it necessarily wise or spiritual or godly or Christian to help somebody who you know is going to hurt or even kill you? No, it's not. You notice when people are going to lay hands on Jesus, he's always the highest or the finest or the final example. He would depart from them. He would get away from people, even though they couldn't really kill him because he's the Son of God and he was going to die when God said he was going to die. And that's really true for believers. We can't die. The devil can't really do anything to us until God decides that he can. But the point I'm making here is that Jesus didn't stay around people who wanted to hurt him. Once he gave you the truth and you rejected him, he would move on. And he told his believers to do that. Remember when he sent out people to preach 2 by 2? He said to shake the dust off your feet when people reject you. He said, don't stay where you're not wanted, basically. Basically, don't warm up the snake. Now, as I said, the story about the man warming up the snake by the fire and the snake then biting him, that's a pretty familiar story to a lot of Americans. And the other day I saw a kind of twist on that story, which I have never seen. I saw it somewhere on social media, on Facebook. And in this story, well, let me just read it to you. A man saw a snake being burned to death and decided to take it out of the fire. When he did, the snake bit him, causing excruciating pain. The man dropped the snake and the reptile fell right back into the fire. So the man looked around and found a metal pole and used it to take that snake out of the fire, saving its life. Now, someone who was watching approached the man and said, That snake bit you. Why are you still trying to save it? And the man replied, the nature of the snake is to bite, but that's not going to change my nature, which is to help. And then at the bottom of this post, it said, do not change your nature simply because someone harms you. Do not lose your good heart, but learn to take precautions. And this story was attributed to someone named Diane Johnson, according to the post. And the person that posted is Frank Canas. I think it's okay to say these names because these are public posts and they obviously want people to know who they are. And of course, this post or this story got a lot of reactions, a lot of positive reactions. Oh, this is so powerful. Thank you for this. This is a good reminder. Oh, this is a good reminder. That was the comments. Those were some of the comments under that story, the second story I just read. And I suppose that motivated me to do this message because I suppose it bothered me a little bit to see people reacting in such a positive way towards a man in his story who does not seem very wise, at least not to me. It seemed like somebody who's trying to be spiritual and is kind of ill-informed about what real spirituality is. Real spirituality is not about putting yourself in harm's way all the time, just because it's your nature or just because you just want to help people. You know, the Bible talks about, I'm thinking about in the book of Proverbs, and I'm having trouble remembering exactly where it is at this moment. The prudent man is going to hide from danger, and a foolish man is going to walk right into the danger because he thinks he's brave or courageous, or he just doesn't know what's going on. And a smart man, a wise man, is going to not put himself right in the path of danger. I look right there in Genesis 39, and this is obviously part of the story of Joseph. You know, he's been sold to slave owners, and he's had a lot happen to him already. And right here in chapter 39 of Genesis, he's being tempted by his boss's wife. You know, right there in verse 7 of 39, and it came to pass after these things that his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph, and she said, lie with me. You know, maybe I'm the only one who thinks that when she says lie with me, there's at least a double meaning there. Not just lay in the bed with me, but lie to my husband about us. In verse 8, but he refused. Joseph refused and said unto his master's wife, behold, my master wotteth not what is with me in the house, and he hath committed all that he hath to my hand. There is none greater in this house than I, neither hath he kept back anything from me but thee, because thou art his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God? Yeah, Joseph has run of the whole house. He's the boss of the house. The only thing that his master has not given him is the master's wife. Other than that, everything belongs to Joseph. He is trusted on that kind of level. Now, is Joseph supposed to be nice to this woman? Gentlemanly, sure. Yeah, I mean, it's the boss's wife after all. But the wall's got to be there. There's got to be some kind of hedge and avoiding all appearance of evil. So obviously he can't be with his boss's wife. But this woman, and I don't think it's wrong to call her a whore. She's an adulteress. She's trying to cheat on her husband. There's no reason to trim what you're going to say about her there. It's not a good woman. Because after Joseph runs from her, he's not trying to warm up the snake. He's trying to get away from it. But the snake, this woman, goes and lies about him and has him thrown in prison. And the Bible's ahead of its time because this is definitely the beginning of the Me Too movement. Take sides about politics because I'm one of those people, I'm on record as saying whether you're Democrat, Republican, Independent, wherever you are in the world politically, all over the world now, you're all, or they are all working against God. And go to Psalm, in the beginning of the book of Psalms, where all the kings, all the rulers, all the nations are taking counsel against the Lord. But there was something really wise that our current vice president kind of got in trouble for in the media, or among some people that I've heard, where he was saying that he didn't want to be alone with a woman who weren't his wife. And people kind of took him to task for that. But it's actually a wise thing to do. Why would you put yourself in that position, especially in the 21st century when the hashtag Me Too thing is going on? It's like the people who want to accuse, they actually want to put him in those positions, or want to put men in those positions. And a smart man, a wise man, a prudent man is going to be more like Joseph and not even be alone, not even put himself in position to be accused. Stay away from the snakes. Don't warm them up. One way of warming up a snake is to befriend it, knowing what it is, knowing that it doesn't mean you any good, even though it may be friendly for a minute and curling around your arm. Eventually, it's going to turn on you. First Peter chapter 2, verse 11, dearly beloved, I beseech you as strangers and pilgrims, abstain from fleshly lusts which war against the soul. Then you jump over to Philippians chapter 2, that you may be blameless and harmless, the sons of God without rebuke in the midst of a crooked and perverse nation, among whom ye shine as lights in the world. And the only way you can follow what those last two verses are saying is to not be around people who hate what that says. They don't want righteousness. They have the world's righteousness. They have the world's version of good, which is usually the opposite of what God says is good. The snakes are going to take you away from what God wants. The snakes are part of that crooked and perverse nation. And you're going to look different to them. So they're going to want to get near you. And they're going to want to be warmed up by you. But we're to have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness. And one way we're going to keep the snakes away is to reprove and rebuke and exhort with all long suffering.